Welcome to FaithWorks Live. Here's your host, Rebecca Haney.
Oh, my friends, I'm so glad that you're here. It is my joy to be with you here on FaithWorks Live. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Rebecca, and I was just talking about how I am very impressive in theory. Right, Dan? That's a wonderful thing to be, as impressive, like a resume on paper. But then when you really get to know me, it's like a Monet, like from far away. Famous clueless art critic. From far away, it looks great. And then when you get up in front, it's all
What
messy.
happened?
Like, you look better from like a good neighbor. Stay over there. No, man, we're off to a rollicking start. It's going to be a great day. We have a brave new world update, as the bard once said. Oh, brave new world that hath such people in it. As he also said, Lord, what fools these mortals be. I think we're right there at the crossroads.
Right there.
The crossroads of our culture today. Dan Hudson is there for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Every time we come to you for insight and wisdom and you point us back to the Bible, brother, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today.
Why is it I always feel like I've been run over at that crossroads? I don't know, but
hold the sandwich board a little higher next time.
I keep standing back up.
Repent and what? Ethel, I can't see.
Yeah.
Dan, it is great to have you back with us. I know you had a tree emergency at your house. I did not misspeak. What happened?
Yeah. Yesterday, cutting down 2 trees. Now, when I say I was in the house looking out the window as men were cutting down my tree. But there were 2 trees. They've been dead for like 3 years. I kept thinking, we serve a God of resurrection. And spring is new life, and we celebrate Easter, and there's so many good things in the spring. So every year I look at the tree and I think, surely, this is the year. And I finally decided, that's not happening. And my wife told me maybe we could be the embarrassment of the entire neighborhood. So we got rid of 2 trees that should have been gotten rid of a long, long time ago.
Were they fig trees? Because there's a whole parable about that.
Well, no one cursed it. But
okay, all right.
There were some beetles. They're the ash trees that are going down all over the place.
Yeah. You are correct. Well, I'm glad everyone came out of it with limbs and life intact. That's very good.
Yeah, just no money. So it's going to be a slow death of starvation. But
come on over to our house. Do not eat the bugs. Okay, let me just say that for the record.
Is that time of year?
It is that time of year. And can you believe it? Our local news, which also does national stuff, but still, instead of focusing on anything else, the headline that they ran with was, why, yes, you can eat cicadas.
But there's nothing else going on right now.
Nobody was asking. The question no one was asking. Absolutely no one. You could, I suppose, but why would you, really, when there are actual food options? Seriously, there's no news going on. We have to cover the fact that cicadas are edible. And who is experimenting on these, may I ask?
Well, the thing is, we got major food companies now grinding up bugs into our food, so they're just getting us all ready for this great third world country we're part of now.
Do not eat the bugs.
Isn't it like some year when it's supposed to be like the apocalyptic bug year?
I think this year is one of them. So there's certain varieties that are out. Is it every 7 years, and then one is every 17 or something like that? It happens predictably, but not all at once. And then every so often it lines up where they all hatch all at once. And I think, it is kind of freaky. And I know there are cultures where that's a normal thing. But now I hear Lee Greenwood in the background. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I eat my beef. This is Iowa. Okay. Yeah. We have options, y'all. If you're that hungry, come to my house. Please allow us to feed you.
We'll help.
Yes. Give now. Just come over. All right. Standing invitation, dinner at my house. It gets better is what I'm saying. Come on over. It's all right. Step away from the bugs.
We'll have to put up little signs here soon, just saying bug-free communion and all that kind of stuff for all the people that are wondering. Yeah. I mean, they really are putting the bug dust in the things. And
I refuse. I will not. Thank you. I prefer not. And that's what they could say on my tombstone. Of all the mistakes I made, she did not eat the bugs.
Did not eat the bugs, but they're eating me now. That's part.
The circle of life. Okay, so when moments happen in pop culture, when celebrities venture into the world of actual thought, oftentimes a swing and a miss. When they hit, they really hit. And so it has this huge impact. And everybody has been watching the Chiefs. They have historic talent in their team right now. Everybody knows Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and now everybody knows Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce and the drama that's associated with that. All of that puts for a pretty big spotlight on this team. And lo and behold, the humble kicker, usually not the person that has all the spotlight attached to them, except maybe 3 times a game, 3 or 4 times, maybe. And then the pressure's on. But there's one youngish man, I don't know how old he is, but they all look young to me now. But one young man one of those whippersnappers out there making millions of dollars with their feet, named Harrison Butker. And I know of this man, not only because my husband is a diehard Chiefs fan, so I have learned a great deal through observation and well-timed questions. I know that this man is a pretty interesting character. He is known to be a man of integrity. He is a fervent Catholic, and he has been openly pro-life and a family man. And they have, I think it's 7 children. They have many. I will verify that because I need to know now. Inquiring minds must know. People of faith who stand by their Christian values.
Yeah.
And when it comes to life, he has been unabashed in saying that we should protect the preborn children. So wonderful, all stars from me. I was shocked to see that this kid was trending on Twitter for a speech he made at a Catholic university saying basically we should abide by what the church teaches. It doesn't matter what culture says. Here are things that we've believed for, I don't know, the last 6-7 millennia of human history. And it's been working pretty well for us so far. So we should probably return to that. And we shouldn't really care about what the rest of the culture says. We should actually be consistent with what we say we believe. The hue and cry was great and bold. Dan, have you been following any of this? And I would say, I confess, the outrage took me by surprise. I'm usually not surprised by this kind of thing, but what made people mad about this particular speech, I found surprising. What did you think?
Well, I tell you what, I had seen all kinds of stuff about it, but I had no clue what they were talking about. Why is everybody upset with this guy from some team? I'm not an NFL junkie. Like, I watched the Super Bowl. Talk more about the ads, but I love college ball. So anyway, I like football. I'm it's like I'm not a fan. I actually listened to the speech today, and I found myself online looking to buy his jersey. But then I remembered I just cut 2 trees down, so maybe he can send me a jersey.
If you send it, I will wear it.
Yeah, it's because suddenly it's like one of the hottest trending jerseys out there.
Yes,
because
it was number 1 bestseller on NFL.com. It was the number 1 searched item, the number 1 sold item. So even more than Patrick Mahomes or any of the other famous quarterbacks out there, nobody buys the kicker's shirt. Are you kidding? Yeah. He's the number 1 guy, right? He hit the top of their sales because of taking this stand.
That's so awesome. I found myself, mentally applauding at several spots. And then when he was finished, I thought, okay, I loved that so much. I see why culture hates it. Because, we're pretty much in opposite worlds, going opposite directions as fast as we can away from each other. He hit on so many key points. It was just really fantastic. I like I say, I can see why they were angry. Other than, I think what he even says in there, this was a safe place to say this, speaking to co-believers, like the people who share the faith at a college that shares the faith, that stands on those principles. That was his audience. His audience wasn't everybody else. I mean, it'd be great if they follow along. Next month, when we have people waving flags and doing speeches, I'm going to expect them to say certain things. I'm not going to agree with it. That was not going to be shocking to me. Why were they so shocked that he would say what we actually believe?
Right. And the shock was real. It did not stop. It only intensified. For days now, people have been calling for not just him to apologize, but to be removed from the NFL, to not be able to work in this town ever again. A pro athlete. This has nothing to do with his ability to perform his job. Incidentally, it's just about him issuing opinions that you may or may not agree. You're free to agree or disagree with, but no one was forcing you to listen to it either. May I say? You heard something on the internet that he thought you disagreed with it, and then you got mad, and now he's not able to do his job now. You want to take away his employment from him? That seems a little bit, that's cancel culture at its finest, but isn't that a little bit just outsized? Isn't it a little out of proportion, y'all?
Yeah, he wasn't even talking to the whole world.
This was not for you.
Yeah, it was like, hey, if you're a Catholic, be a Catholic.
Yep.
I mean, you could put his whole speech That right there. If you're a Catholic, be a Catholic. So that means if you're not, then just go hop around your little way and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, no, we want to define Catholicism. We want to define everything. We want all of culture to bow at our feet. Sounds like, I don't know, some pagan god or something. I don't know. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's truly ridiculous.
Yeah, you will be.
You and I should have been canceled a long time ago. Just wait till they start hearing our stuff.
Wait till we go viral, Dan.
Yeah, one of these days.
Those cancellations will be pouring in. So the part that I thought would be super controversial and that I figured the NFL was going to respond to was actually right at the beginning. He launches into this with no holds barred kind of attitude. And he decries the false faith and the hypocrisy of people like Joe Biden. And yes, he name drops and he references Anthony Fauci. And here, just listen to this and you'll hear, this is the part that I thought was going to be controversial.
Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. The difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice.
I agree. I agree with every single word that he just said. He calls Joe Biden delusional for making the sign of the cross at an abortion clinic campaign rally. I mean, that is what it is. The thing speaks for itself. He calls out the COVID tyranny, which that didn't get nearly the press that I thought that it would. He's talking about the lockdowns. He's talking about how leadership failed us by shutting down houses of worship, by shutting down our freedoms. He goes all in. Almost in passing, he mentions the obvious issue of gender confusion, of gender manipulation, and gender perversion among children. That's the part I thought would be controversial. And yet it wasn't. I mean, I understand it probably would have been, except for all the other stuff that overshadowed tried and true rage buttons that get pressed. You talk about abortion, you talk about the Rainbow Mafia. So that's the part I thought would be crazy. And that doesn't surprise me, but he is very bold about it. And his point of courage, I highly applaud.
Yeah, it was just fantastic to hear people calling out these things that are so that you and I will listen to or see on news clips and throughout the time. I think, well, that doesn't work. You can't do that. And to hear someone say that in a public way, again, at a Catholic university, speaking to a Catholic audience, it just happened to be spread everywhere. But so you got to keep the audience in mind. I make a terrible atheist.
Do say more, Dan.
I believe in God. I love God. I love Jesus Christ. I love the fact that he died on the cross for my sins as a propitiatory act. The whole thing. So the atheist would tell me, well, you're a bad atheist. I can't say, well, no, I am one. Redefine their group. I mean, I can't because I'm not one. I don't want to. Why would someone who's not a Catholic want to redefine the Catholic Church? Or even in my head, I just translate that just into Christianity in general, because they do it. It doesn't matter. They don't know the difference between Catholic and Baptist and Presbyterian and whatever. It's just like those Jesus people,
right.
Christian people. You don't get to define Christianity. I don't get to define Christianity. I don't get to decide all of a sudden, all that stuff I've been teaching, I don't believe it anymore. We're going a different direction. And be like, well, that means I left. It doesn't right. mean it has changed. And so I don't care if you're a president or a high-ranking official, you still have to play by the rules of the group you identify with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to take a theological tangent, you do see that happening where you have very high-profile preachers, authors, Christian artists, people that attain a certain level of notoriety, and they do so on the basis of faith. We as Christians tend to assume that when people say, I'm a Christian, there's this element of good faith, like, sure, yay, we're all on the same team. Many of us have not been as discerning about that until suddenly they start thinking, I'm questioning core tenets of the faith. Make these claims and just say, well, I'm a Christian, yet, I get to make up my own rules. I get to redefine everything. It's not your club, y'all. This is not your universe. You don't get to define it. God defines it. He tells you what it is. And we seek in wisdom and humility to understand. And it seems that we have misunderstood our assignment, and we get it wrong a lot. I know that. God bless us, man, everyone. The struggle that we have now coming to such a head, we as the wider culture now, and even people in the church, the influence of the world, it can be difficult if we're steeping in it to really see how different, how rebellious that is to the way of God, how countercultural we are to be as Christians until you come up face on, head on collision with this. That's what this speech seems to have done, because it wasn't really Catholics can't be pro-abortion or Biden specifically. It wasn't really that. It wasn't really transgenderism and the lies that are taking over our youth and our leadership. That wasn't really it. It was really his comments about masculinity and femininity, his admonition to men to basically stand up and be strong men and strong presence in your homes, in your churches, in your communities, which I can give a hearty amen to. See what you think.
To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the US, and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better.
Dan, you're a man. What do you think?
We started a couple of years ago investing quite a bit of time. We have a men's group that meets every Saturday morning now, because I believe we have lost a lot of men standing up to be men, right? So we talk about it every single week, and it's been a good thing. Now we want to start bringing some of the youth in to do some mentoring, because that's, it's men who teach boys how to be men, and maybe that's half our problem is the men have run away in some areas. And so moms are trying to teach their son. I mean, my mom tried to teach me how to be a man. I mean, she didn't, but she didn't know. That's all I had,
Mm-hmm.
So I have deficiencies, and I tell my guys that all the time. And there's several of us that have that. It's just great to hear a refreshing voice like that saying, you know what, it's okay to be a man. You were born as a man. You are a man. Men do things.
Don't apologize. Be unapologetic in your masculinity. Don't give in to this trend that says you have to be emasculated. You have to be less male. You have to fight for what's right. You don't just do what's easy. And that when you do that, you glorify God. And I love that that's the full picture of this message, because I see a lot of the reaction on like the red pill based culture where you have guys that are promoting a false facade of masculinity because they're rejecting anti-male culture. And I can get with them on that. But we talked about this before, that what they promote, a false identity of like alpha dog hedonism, where the men get in there, they take what they want, they can have as many women as they want, they can father all these children and then do nothing with them. And this is what it means to be great and to be a conqueror. And none of that is God honoring either. And that will ultimately lead to your emptiness, because that's just really seeking after both pride and pleasure. That will not fulfill from an eternal standpoint. It also doesn't build a healthy society. That will also leave you empty. But to glorify God in the way that he made you, unapologetically, God made you in his uniquely and valuably in his image. He made you as a man. And that is glorifying to God when you fulfill that role, when you step into that and say, yes, thank you, Lord, for making me who I am, to glorify and honor you. We were joking about, our various deficiencies, and the fact that we're all works in progress, right?
Mhm.
But never apologize for the way God made you, for he made you intrinsically you, and only you can shine his image in that way specifically. And you're here for a reason and for a purpose that only you can fill. I mean, I don't know what should give us more joy and more dignity and more fulfillment than that. Like, we can forever be rejoicing in that. I've always thought that the songbirds sing because they glorify God just by being birds. They don't have to think about anything. He provides all their needs. And, he provides the lilies of the field. Like, all they got to do is simply exist and shine, the way God made them to be. We humans like to complicate everything. We're the ones that dare to say, no, Lord. Like, those are two words that never go together. No, Lord. Seriously? No, I don't want to be what you made me to be. I'd rather be this other thing that I can never be instead. And he looks at us and he shakes his head and he's like, oh, silly sheep.
Right.
Come along, come back to me. And he says the same thing for both men and women, but go ahead.
I would say, there has to be a spiritual element in this, right? Because society is attacking the basic components of a family, of humanity, right? The how God created us. And it's like Satan has all along tried to destroy what is beautiful and what is good that God created. So if he can turn God's prized possession against him, or confuse God's prized possession, or sterilize it, really, then he's going to go after that. And so we have a group of people telling men not to be men, be more like a woman, but they can't even define what a woman is because she might be a man. It's just
right.
You look at it and say, no one with any brain at all can look at that and say, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it is obviously a spiritual blindness going on that is covering people's eyes. They're veiled and they're confused, and they think they're wise, but they're fools.
Professing to be wise, we have become utter fools. Isn't that funny how that works?
We need people like him to stand up and say, no, this is really how it is. The emperor, he does have no clothes on right now. So open your eyes and look. He's naked, and so are you. So put on your clothes, and get your head straight.
Gird your loins like a man.
Exactly. No wonder people have hated it, his speech,
The reddest of red buttons that got pressed in everybody's offensometer, his discussion about women. And lo and behold, a man can't talk about what it means to be a woman without all of global society going up in arms and all at once clutching their collective pearls and gasping and then demanding that the man be canceled. How dare he exist?
Yeah.
And so here it is. And I'd like you to listen carefully and see if you hear what I hear, or more specifically, what we don't hear. And then we'll discuss.
For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
Dan, when you heard that speech, that part of the speech, and so you're listening to it retroactively, okay, this is what's driving everybody absolutely bazooka nuts. What was your take before I, as a woman, yes, I can define it. I've never been confused. I am well aware that I display God's glory as a woman, and I'm proud of that. Thank you very much. What did you think of his comments specifically on femininity, on womanhood, and on motherhood?
I applauded what he said. I just thought, how could anyone be offended? I mean, isn't that the buzzword these days, to be your genuine true self, or however they say that? It's like, and God created women as these beautiful, wonderful creations to have so much fulfillment in life, and we're trying to pull people away from that, so they're all miserable. Not all of them, but there's so much misery out there as displayed in how people are reacting to this. If they weren't miserable, they wouldn't be all thrown up all over, and being angry. Just to confirm God's plan and his design. And it's beautiful to be a woman. It's a good thing to be a woman. It's a good thing to be a man. He didn't say women are bad. He didn't say make them all barefoot and pregnant. He didn't say, get back in the kitchen where you belong. He said, be a woman first, be a Christian first, and serve God, and everything else falls in place,
Right. And that's what the part that I listened to very carefully, because I didn't hear any of what was making everybody so upset. I've experienced both sides of this. I've experienced several iterations of what it's like to be a woman, to be a career gal for many years. Eventually, after I got married and we had kids right away, we have a blended family. And so I became a mom immediately. And I was a working mom for a long time. And then now I am a homeschool mom, 6 kids, and I call myself a nap time talk show host because I schedule everything around the speed of motherhood. My husband and I both own a company, so we're working on that. We've got to run a business, a budding media empire on the side. And of course, our kiddos are our ultimate accomplishment. And he and I would both say that. Whatever accomplishments that we have outside of our home pale in comparison if we fail in our homes. That was Mr. Butker's point. He didn't say women couldn't work. He didn't say women can't be on fire. He didn't say they can't run the world as a CEO or as elected officials, whatever. Cue up your Beyonce theme song. That's great for whatever it is. But we have believed the lie for far too long that as women, our worth is only about what we bring to the workplace, about how good, how shiny of a cog we can be in a corporate machine that would replace you tomorrow. Your job will not remember you when you are gone. And we believed this lie. I believed the lie. I didn't even realize how much it had influenced me until I started coming home and realizing, wait a minute, I'm not bringing in a paycheck. Well, that really changes how I see things. Am I using my time as valuably as I should? If I fail at cooking dinner, I'm failing because of the productivity, and just it's a completely different mindset. We have to get out of this self-motivated mindset that says our only worth is what we bring to the table in terms of a paycheck or promotions, because it doesn't leave any room. Not saying you can't do both, but you really can't do it all at once. You cannot focus 100% on all of those things at once. Even if you're the bad mama jamma chick that's running the boardroom in heels, congratulations to you. But what about your kids? I don't think that we could ever say that they are somehow worth less. Our chief achievement should be a loving home, being a loving wife and mom. That would give us the greatest fulfillment of all of these things. It doesn't matter how many $1,000s a year you make. If you come home empty and alone, or to a family that's broken and fractured because they didn't know that mom was there and loved them. Like, the ministry of motherhood is so sacred. And we devalue that and we give that up for just a few more shiny things a year. Ladies, we've got to wake up. I had to wake up. And it has been very freeing for me to discover this. And I still, in my mind, I have sometimes these little inner turmoils in the back of my head. And I have to realize it's okay to slow down. It's okay that we're focusing on potty training. It's okay that we're stuck between diapers and driver's ed. And sometimes I want to pull my hair out. But then you have those little moments where you just look in their faces and you realize, oh, this is the image of an everlasting God. And he gave you to me for just one short glimmer of time. And he gave you to me to be your mother. What a gift. There's nothing the world can offer that's more valuable than that.
I saw an advertisement yesterday, and I wasn't paying attention other than, you just kind of halfway in, there's an advertisement. And it just absolutely broke my heart when it was over. And so it might have been for Apple or something. I don't know. But because it's a teenage girl or something that was doing something and won. And then she had all these trophies and she's taking selfies. And she sends a picture to her mom who's in a boardroom. And the mom looks at the picture and she's like, yeah. And I thought, what? You weren't even there. Yeah. I mean, I realize sometimes that happens. But I'm like, it was all like, I am totally and fully engaged in my daughter's life. As I'm sitting here at a board meeting, because I got a picture text. And that's probably what people think that's fully engaged in your children's life. And it's just not. It's just not. We made a conscious choice as young married couple that I'm a preacher, right? So I don't make big dollars. I'm not like the big breadwinner, so we've never had a big fancy house or barely working car or anything like that. It's been better in later years, but and she worked like part-time mother's hours. At first we were going to try to do nothing, but then it was like, okay, she had like an 8 to 2 thing at the Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that. And there's so many times we looked at, we'd have to continually remind ourselves, like, things could be so much better with more money, and then we'd be like,
yes, you're right. I can see that side of the argument.
It'd be nice to have a car that wasn't in the shop every other week, but then we'd have to remind ourselves, no, it wouldn't, because we'd be trading the souls of our children for that. Yeah. And we're not, nothing is worth that. Nothing in this world is worth that. Yeah. And now we're on the other side. We've come through it. Our children are both adults. One has a child. I mean, they're both married, both in careers even. So every once in a while, we will, now that we're empty nesters, we will sit down and kind of look at each other and just say, man, what a good life. What an amazing life we have had. We still have. We intend to continue having. And now that heritage, that legacy is going into it. Like tonight, our grandson's coming over, so mom and dad can go out on a date, and celebrate their anniversary and everything. And it's like, how cool is that? We have children that are grown-up professionals who like live within 6 miles of us because they didn't want to leave the area. They could have gone anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. They have skills. One's a dentist, one's an anesthesiologist, right? I mean, they got stuff. They're
very accomplished.
Very accomplished. And they're like, no, we love our family. And they're molding their family to have jobs this way that they can be with their family too, and make a decent income. So we didn't figure that thing out young enough, but we have no regrets. No regrets. We could go through a long list of really terrible vehicles we owned. When we moved into town here, we bought literally the cheapest house on the market because, well, we couldn't afford it, but we needed an office for a church plant, and anyway, we're still there, going to be paid off real soon. And so many of our friends have so much more. I bought my first new vehicle 2 years ago. Well, second one was, we were first married 40 years ago. But there's no trade. We'd do it all over again. Wouldn't change a thing.
We sacrifice for what we care about, right?
Yep.
And so many people fail to recognize the other side. The lie is that children are burdensome. Children are too expensive. We have to wait. We have to put off having kids. And the truth is, we're not having children. We're conceiving children, but we're killing them. And we sacrifice our children, or we say, well, later, I'll think about it later. And women get into their 30s, even their 40s, and then suddenly discover, oh no, because biology is real. And then many, many women are facing sadness. I'm not trying to make light of it, but much of the time, if it's based on our choices, or we're not understanding the true value of what we're giving up, what we're sacrificing, the assumption now is that, well, you're going to have a career. You got to have a career. What does that mean? What does that entail? That is the sacrifice that you make of your time, your energy, your expertise, your skill. You are alienating your labor for money, for some sort of compensation, and then recognition and promotion or dedication to a skill or craft. All of that can be very good for society, provided you're, a productive individual and not a underwater basket weaver with a minor in gender studies. So
they have value.
Intrinsically, yes. Professionally, no. I'm just going to put that in the suggestion box, okay? Major in something useful. But let's assume you are, and you have great skills that our society needs. That is wonderful, and the laborer is worthy of his hire. The thing is, though, that we neglect to look at the value of our next generation, the perpetuation of the species, our own family, where you look into the future and it has your eyes and the most adorable little nose and a laugh that you dream about. It's the intensity of joy, the intensity of every emotion, really. Sorrow, frustration, complete and utter disbelief. The wonder that comes with being a parent can almost not be quantified, but I don't think that we're trying. What the church can do to circle all of this back around, we should encourage women to be joyful wives and mothers, to equip them to do that. We should equip men to be strong, joyful, courageous husbands and fathers. That is how God designed each and every one of us. That's one of the original commands, and it is a wonderful honoring thing. What is one of the original 10, honor thy father and mother. This is a command with promise. You will live long upon the earth. If you do this, listen. King Solomon, wisest man on earth, presents the wisdom as a father and mother teaching their child. Listen. The world looks at that, and because it's authored by God, hates it. The crux of the matter, I don't think any of this is objectionable. I'm sorry for any Christian women out there, especially Christian women, that have a hard time with this. He said this to honor motherhood. He said it to honor, in particular, his wife. He gave her a credit upon a credit and honor and glory for saying, I could never be where I am without you. It's that same old time-tested adage that behind every great man is a great woman with a lot of patience. That's the truth of the situation. And if we neglect to understand that we were meant to work together, what is it that we want instead? Do we want men and women to constantly be at one another's throats and constantly competing, slashing and charging at one another as though we are the enemy? Apparently so. And the devil looks at that and laughs.
Mm-hmm. He's winning in this area, in our culture for sure. And yeah, like you said, he was not telling everyone that the whole world has to follow this, although they'd be better for it. To be so angry at him is ridiculous. He's just saying, hey, if you want to be a Catholic, follow the Catholic teaching. This is what the Catholic teaching says, and go.
Simple enough.
Or choose not to be a Catholic.
Right? It's your choice.
Or again, I would translate, choose not to be Christian if you're not going to follow the Bible. Just
right.
Don't do it.
Because we're not Catholic, but we can wholeheartedly agree with the biblical principles that he espouses here. Not only that, he also talks about following God and God's will and that's what brings you glory. So the entirety of the speech is well worth listening to. But even if you only hear the bits and pieces here, he's saying, if we follow God's design, we'll be happier. He's encouraging people. And literally he's saying, take courage. As both men and women, take courage and walk forward in your understanding of who God wants you to be, of who he created you to be, and don't listen to the noise of the world. And lo and behold, that world got really noisy. And he's as of this recording right now, he is living out exactly what he said, which is he's not going to apologize. He's just going to continue to stand strong, humble, but confident in what God has called him to do. Do not repent. No backsies. Don't take it back, Harrison. Right. Stand strong and be courageous, because my goodness, we need that now. We need solid, courageous, humbly confident Christians who are just willing to say to the world, no, it's not your way. I'm sorry, this is not your world. I'm going to look to the author and finisher of my faith to define who I am and who I'm supposed to be. Because why? Because he died for me and I live for him now. So he's bought me with a price. I'm going to follow him. You guys come along. Please do. Come on along and see what all this is about. I love to show you. But if your answer is no, that's your choice. My choice is to follow him. Drown out the rest of the world. Any of those other cries, we will obey God rather than men. Thank you and have a nice day.
I'll bet you obviously I don't know him, but while the world is on fire and calling him, the son of Satan, he's probably sitting back in his home, cuddled up with his wife, drinking a nice tea, playing with the kids, very happy.
Yep.
And you know what? If the NFL follows this advice and said, no, we only want womanizers and wife beaters, we don't want people who love the family, get out of here. He'll be like, okay. And he'll still have his family and still have his wife and still have and he'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point, because there's no one poorer than the guy who reaches the top, the apex of success, and it's luxury and it's fast cars and it's fast women and it's all like whatever that might be for you, all the shiny things. And then he looks up and he's all alone and his kids hate him because he was never there. And, the cat's in the cradle all over again. This is a trope because it is true. And I thought we had discovered this as a society. You've got NFL players that are out there making every other type of political speech. Well, Colin Kaepernick is making political speeches on the sidelines, and this guy gets to say what he wants to on his off time. And you don't have to like it or agree with it, but it's freedom of speech, and his job shouldn't be sacrificed for that. If you look at the character of the people that we look up to, we as Christians fall just as hard into this trap of celebrity, and that somehow if a famous person says it, it means more, or we look up to them like their opinion of anything should matter all that much. It does in this instance because it agrees with God. I think Harrison Butker is standing for the truth of God. And so his opinion should be lauded because it aligns with God's truth and because it's apparently a really needed message, as we can tell by all the stomping, shouting, and gnashing of teeth that I see outside my window right now. But the amount of people who have committed felonies, who have abused women and other men, who've gotten into fistfights, who have, destroyed property, who have myriad children from women they're not married to, like, this is the standard that the NFL sets. I think they would not only be, incredibly hypocritical, they would also be destroying apparently most of what America actually looks up to, as witnessed by the fact that Harrison Butker's jersey is the #1 seller on NFL.com. So if you're willing to leave that, because if you care about your money and your bottom line, you're probably not so much into the whole like quest for truth and justice in the American way, but you do care about the bottom line. So don't leave that money on the table. Give Harrison Butker his due. Let the man speak, let the man live, and let us celebrate him for the actual role model that he apparently is. So that's what I've got to say about that. Did we solve it?
And honestly, if I work at McDonald's for a living and I'm a manager there and I'm having a great McDonald's life, why would they care if on the side I gave a speech about anything? I'm not representing McDonald's. I'm not, I suppose he's there as an NFL player, so maybe they can say, well, he's not representing the NFL. Anybody with a brain knows that. He represents a successful guy who happens to be Catholic, who went to a Catholic school to talk Catholic principles to Catholic people. He wasn't there to say, here's the fine qualities of the NFL. He wasn't trying to sell them on the next season pass or whatever, sell tickets and jerseys. He was there giving a speech. But he was asked, he even began the thing saying, I didn't really want to do this. I'm not a public speaker. The cheering that went on at different points in his speech, when he said some of the comments that we were talking about, and when he ended his speech, the people there were eating it up. They absolutely loved what he was saying. The audience, is who he was talking to, loved it. So everybody else, shut up.
Right. Well, choose ye this day what you want to follow. Do you want to follow, drinking, partying, hedonism, one life to live? Let's chew it up, spit it out, and leave an ugly corpse. Like, is that your attitude? Is that what you prefer? Okay, you're free to do that. I wouldn't recommend it, but you're free to do that. Alternatively, what's worked for every other generation of mankind? How about we establish manhood, womanhood, that those two things are actually pretty good, especially when they work together, and that we should honor mothers and we should honor fathers and we should honor them for the value and the work that they do and that they bring to the table, that it's not about a paycheck. It's about posterity. It's about leaving a legacy for the next generation. And maybe if we listen to the creator of all of this, Lord and Master of the universe, who's actually pretty smart, actually knows what's going on, that maybe we'll have a good, fulfilled, joyful, productive life. Maybe life would be pretty good if we followed along with what he had, the time-tested wisdom that he has imparted to us in his graciousness. Maybe it's worth a shot.
I've been a preacher for 40 years, right? I've done a lot of sermons. I've done a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of teaching, all the stuff. When it's all said and done, no one's going to remember too much. They'll remember pieces of it, but who's going to remember me the most? Who am I going to have the biggest impact on in my life? It's my children. And they have already said that, which is, wow, how
what a gift.
Gratifying is that, right?
Yeah.
He's right. I don't care what your job is. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. The most important thing is your family. There's no higher calling in life than being a mother or a father. All the other stuff's extra and fun. And, I love what I do. I love every minute of what I do. But I love to walk out the door and hang out and grill a burger and sit around and talk to my family too.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine what it'll be like in heaven when it always feels like that, when it's like one big, happy family, especially for people who have never experienced that. For those who, maybe family means chaos to you. Maybe you didn't experience what it was like and this ideal seems so far away from the reality that we're talking about. That's not to say that fathers don't fall down. It's not to say that mothers don't mess up. God has his family. He instituted the family and says, this is honorable and this is the ideal. What we know is that if you've experienced the brokenness of abuse or people not following what God has said to do by putting one another first and by living and serving each other, that's an aberration from the ideal. That's not God's fault, frankly, but that's also, just what we do as sinful, broken people because we're self-seeking. What Jesus brings into this world is the understanding that the mighty actually come to serve. And that's really what I think family teaches us, the beauty of sacrifice, the understanding that it's not about you. And that's what I think the world hates. That's why we hate the picture of motherhood, or the idea that we have to be responsible for our children, for another person. It forces you to sacrifice, to say, it's not about me. I am here to serve my spouse. I'm here to serve my husband or my wife, and I'm here to serve my children. You know, the world is so much poorer, a generation that all wants to be, famous influencers raking in the big bucks, so much so that we're willing to sell our opinions, our bodies, our integrity for just a few more thousand likes or clicks or views, whatever the kids do these days. We're willing to sell it all. And yet we won't look at our children's and we say, sorry, honey, sorry, little one, sorry, my own flesh and blood child that loves me more than, that thinks I hung the moon and stars. I can't be with you right now. This job over here is more important. We've gotten it so twisted, and hopefully there are enough voices, enough little points of light honoring what Harrison Butker is saying. They're encouraging him. I think every Christian within the sound of my voice should be encouraging the words of Harrison Butker, and every church should really be teaching this to their young men and women. Not that your place is in the kitchen, or your plate, you better make this much money, young man, otherwise you're not worthy. That's not what this is about. It's about having a servant's heart that says, yes, Lord, wherever you send me, and whatever you want me to do, yes, Lord. And that goes a long way towards being the honorable husband, wife, mother, father, because really it's about service. It's about sacrifice. It's about serving in love, wherever God has us.
Yep. Earlier this week, my wife sent me a text and said, I really have a hankering for some Chick-fil-A. And I thought,
smart lady. That's a good, right. I know that feeling well.
So the one up on Row Hay, like it's a disaster. Parking's a disaster. It's always busy. I think they all are. I don't know. So I never go there because I'm just like, I just don't want to deal with the traffic. I got this big old honking truck. I can't park in the park, all this stuff. And I'm sitting, I'm staring at this text. And I'm like, what's the most important thing I have on my list to do right now? I had a big bunch of stuff to do, and I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. So I drove up there in front of the Hobby Lobby on by Merle Hay, and walked across the parking lot over all these traffic trying to run me over, and through their drive-through and into the building because I don't want to take my truck through the drive-through because someone will smash into me. That's more about me than anybody else. I finally got a new one. Come on, I got to take care of it.
Sure, yes.
Got her salad. She wanted a salad, and got her stuff and took it back. And I was going to put a name tag on that said from Grubhubby, but I didn't. But okay, it's a simple little thing, but it's stuck out because I mean, she didn't know I didn't want to. I never complained or whined. I just thought, oh man, this sounds like the worst possible option in my life right now. But I knew it would be special for her. That's what marriage is, right? That's what a husband does for a wife. That's what a wife does for a husband. Sometimes you do the thing that you think this is the worst possible thing I ever would want to do, but I'll still do it anyway. And you go get Chick-fil-A. And
yes.
Just because of honor. That's the stuff they'll remember when you do that within the family context. Nobody cared if I was going to make that phone call or get on that email or study that extra 10 minutes on whatever. We're called to more than what we do.
We are
more than what we have. Our life is the little things like that. Areas of service speak volumes.
Yeah, and the fact that when we build into people, we're building for eternity. So maybe we'll just close on that. Is that what I said before? I really meant. Now there are times, obviously, you have to provide for your family. God gave you amazing skills. Whatever your skill set is, use it. He didn't say that the only thing that you can do is to have babies. No, that's typically the bare minimum for most life forms. Can you propagate yourself as a species? Otherwise, you're not much longer for this earth. So that's why I joke about it, because it seems just so darn obvious, but at the same time, maybe not. So here we are. As a people, you are here. Babies are good. Without babies, there's no more us. So as long as we're coming at it from that frame of mind, yes, absolutely. Use every single one of the skills and talents and the dreams that God gives. He gave it to you for a reason, for the saving of many souls, ultimately to bring his kingdom to earth, for people to better understand, for you to reflect his glory uniquely in whatever way that might be, whatever thing you can invent, that you can perform, that you can, that you can do, that you can make so many people's lives better, that you can treat disease, that you could do any number of these things, build fantastic buildings, that you can cook an amazing meal. Like all of those things glorify him. Use your skills 100%, but your family is not competition for that. And it is your first and best focus and ministry from the Christian perspective. So I guess as we can wrap this up, the hand that rocks the cradle still rocks the world. And the fathers that are out there slaving every single day so that they can provide for their families, provide for their wives and their kids. I mean, we need more of you. We need to clone you. More of you, please. Live unapologetically. The women who see the great joy, both in the hard work that it is, at your households, you deserve honor and value and praise. And the world's not going to do it for you. So as Christians, let's be ready to serve first in our own homes and then the world. The revolution is now. It will not be televised. So right here, Dan Hudson from Pathway Church. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been a good time.
Thanks for solving the world's problems with me.
There's only 3 left.
Right. We're checking them off the list. Time after time in between visits to Chick-fil-A, which was the right answer. You chose wisely. Yes. We'll send this over to Harrison Butker. Thank you so much for standing courageously. Until next time, you've been listening to Faith Works Live. We have a mission, so let's be about it. We're here to love God, serve people, and live free. In today's world, security has never been more vital. And at FaithWorks Live, we're proud to partner with VeriGuard Security. It's a professional physical security service, and they're really raising the bar in security and private investigations. Whether you need a team of professional officers to protect what you have worked hard to build, or their mobile security units for multiple properties or large locations, from business or corporate properties to your home or neighborhood. Perhaps you've got an event coming up. They secure quality security coverage for events large and small, because it's about peace of mind and protecting you, your family, your team, and your property. Settle for nothing less than the best when it comes to your security. You shouldn't have to compromise. When it comes to security, you can trust VeriGuard. Contact them today at verigard.us. That's VARA guard.us. For security service, you can trust VeriGuard. There's no better time than now to stand for life. And you can stand with Iowa's original pro-life organization, Pulse for Life. They're the longest standing nonprofit pro-life organization in Iowa, and they're dedicated to informing, educating, and inspiring a new generation to value the sanctity of all human life, from fertilization until natural death. They serve at the State House. They educate in classrooms, at events. They proudly serve on the coalition of pro-life leaders. They are on the front lines of the battle against this throwaway culture of death that we see all around us, and we are winning ground. Hearts and minds are changing, and the pro-life movement is continuing to grow. And you can be a part of the exciting things that are happening right here in our own backyard at pulseforlife.org, and get your finger on the pro-life pulse. Sign up for their newsletter, find ways that you can make a difference, and how you can change hearts and minds with their pro-life apologetics course, pulseforlife.org. When a woman faces an unplanned pregnancy, every possible emotion goes through her head. Where can she go for help and for hope? She can go to Intervisions. Here in our metro, we have 2 healthcare clinics where she will find hope and help. From free pregnancy testing and STD testing to free ultrasounds, Intervisions serves women and men with STDs who find themselves in vulnerable situations. They're completely free of charge because of generous donations from folks like you. And their medical clinics help their patients get all the information that they deserve, that empowers them to make life-affirming decisions. That's what they do at Intervisions Healthcare Clinics right here in Des Moines. Learn more at intervisionshealthcare.org. That's intervisionshealthcare.org. And you can call 24 hours a day at 515-440-CARE. That's 515-440-2273.